Welcome to Course 4, Foundation, Certified Supply Chain Professional, CSCP, course, by SPAO Academy. Topic 2, Global Supply Chain Networks, Section 1, Supply Chain Design Principles, Lesson 2, Facility Location and Capacity Decisions. Lesson Introduction. Welcome, students. In our previous lesson, we discussed the fundamental, macro, view of supply chain design, introducing the concepts of efficiency, responsiveness, and the high-level trade-offs involved. Now, we are going to zoom in on two of the most critical and strategic decisions a company makes when building its supply chain network: where to put its facilities and how big to make them. These decisions are long-term, expensive to change, and fundamentally shape the cost structure and service capabilities of the entire supply chain. By the end of this lesson, you will understand the key factors that influence these choices and how they work together to support a company's overall strategy. 1. The strategic importance of location and capacity. Imagine you are designing a new restaurant chain. You have to decide: where will the central kitchen be? How big should it be? Where will the dine-in locations be? These are exactly the types of questions we ask in supply chain management, but on a global scale. Facility location. This refers to the physical sites where a company performs its work. This includes factories, warehouses, distribution centers, DCs, cross-docks, and even retail stores. The location decision is strategic because it locks in a significant portion of the supply chain's costs, like transportation and labor, and determines how quickly and effectively you can serve your customers. Capacity decisions. This refers to the maximum amount of output or throughput a facility can handle in a given time period. For a factory, it might be the number of units it can produce per month. For a warehouse, it might be the number of pallets it can store. Deciding on capacity is a bet on future demand. These two decisions are inseparable. Choosing a location with cheap labor but limited space impacts your capacity. Building a massive, highly automated factory, high capacity, only makes sense if it's located where it can serve a large market efficiently. 2. Key factors influencing facility location. When a company decides where to build a new facility, it evaluates potential sites against a range of factors. We can group these into three main categories. A. Market-facing factors, revenue and service. These factors are all about serving the customer effectively. Proximity to customers. Being close to your customers reduces delivery times and shipping costs. It also allows for greater responsiveness. For example, Amazon builds fulfillment centers near major cities to offer one-day or even same-day delivery. This creates a competitive advantage. Proximity to competitors. Sometimes, companies want to be near their competitors. This is called clustering. Think of car dealerships all on the same street or tech companies in Silicon Valley. Being close can attract more customers to the area and allow you to poach skilled talent. B. Supply-side factors, cost and inputs. These factors focus on the cost and availability of what the company needs to operate. Labor costs and availability. A company needs people with the right skills at a reasonable wage. A high-tech manufacturer might need to locate near a city with many engineers, while a garment factory might seek a location with a large pool of low-cost, semi-skilled labor. Proximity to suppliers and raw materials. If a company uses heavy, bulky, or perishable raw materials, like a lumber mill or a fruit juice company, it often makes sense to locate near the source to save on inbound transportation costs. This is called supply-side economies. Utility and infrastructure costs. Reliable access to electricity, water, high-speed internet, and good transportation infrastructure, roads, ports, railways, is critical. A data center, for example, needs enormous amounts of reliable power and good connectivity. C. Community and risk factors. These are broader, often qualitative factors that can make or break a location. Taxes and incentives. Local and national governments often offer tax breaks, grants, or other incentives to attract large employers. This can be a huge deciding factor. Quality of life. Is the location attractive for employees and their families? Good schools, housing, and climate can help a company attract and retain talent. Political, economic, and environmental risk. Companies assess the stability of the local government, the strength of the economy, and the risk of natural disasters, earthquakes, floods, hurricanes. A port city in a hurricane zone might be a risky place for a primary distribution center. 3. Approaches to capacity planning. Once you have a general idea of where, you must decide how much. This involves forecasting future demand and then deciding on a capacity strategy. Forecasting. The foundation of capacity planning is trying to predict future customer demand. This is never perfect, but using historical data, market research, and economic trends, companies create demand forecasts. Based on these forecasts, a company can choose one of three main capacity strategies. A lead strategy, capacity lead strategy. Here, a company builds capacity in anticipation of future demand growth. Analogy. Building a 6-lane highway before the suburb is fully built. Pros. You are always ready for demand spikes, can capture market share from competitors, and provide excellent service. Cons. Very expensive and risky. If the expected demand doesn't materialize, you are left with expensive, underutilized facilities, excess capacity. B. Lag strategy, capacity lag strategy. This is a more conservative approach. The company adds capacity only after demand has exceeded current capacity. You lag behind the demand. Analogy. Only adding a lane to the highway after it's already gridlocked every day. Pros. Less risky and more cost-efficient because you are certain the demand is there. Capacity utilization is high. Cons. You risk losing customers during peak periods because you can't meet demand, leading to stockouts and poor service. C. Match strategy, tracking strategy. This is a middle ground approach. The company adds capacity in small, incremental amounts to try and closely match the rising demand. Analogy. Adding one lane to the highway every few years as traffic gradually increases. Pros. It balances the risks and costs of the lead and lag strategies. Cons. It requires very flexible processes and careful planning to manage frequent, smaller expansions. 4. Integrating location and capacity, the network effect. The most important takeaway from this lesson is that location and capacity decisions are not made in a silo. They are interdependent and create a network effect. The decision of where to put a facility impacts the required capacity of other facilities, and vice versa. Example. A beverage company. Imagine a beverage company deciding between two network design options. Option A, one centralized mega plant. Location. Built in a small town with very low labor and land costs, location factor. Capacity. A very high capacity, highly automated facility, lead strategy to serve the whole country. Result. Low production cost per unit. However, the company now needs a massive, expensive transportation network to ship heavy, water-filled bottles all over the country. Delivery times are long, and transportation costs are high. It is an efficient but not very responsive supply chain. Option B. 4 regional plants. Location. Built near 4 major population centers, location factor. Capacity. Each plant has moderate capacity, match strategy to serve its specific region's demand. Result. Production cost per unit is slightly higher because the plants aren't as large or specialized. However, transportation costs are much lower, and the company can offer fresher products and faster delivery to stores. It is a slightly less efficient but much more responsive supply chain. This example shows how the choice of one option over the other depends entirely on the company's strategy, efficiency versus responsiveness, and how the location and capacity decisions combine to create the final outcome. Summary. In this lesson, we've learned that facility location and capacity decisions are foundational to supply chain design. Location choices are driven by a mix of market-facing, supply-side, and community factors. Capacity planning involves forecasting demand and choosing between lead, lag, and match strategies. Most importantly, we've seen that these decisions are deeply interconnected and must be made together to create a supply chain network that effectively supports the company's overall business goals. In our next lesson, we will explore the role of technology in managing these complex, global networks. I really appreciate you spending your time with me today. If you want to learn more, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. Your like means the world to us and helps this channel grow so we can continue bringing you great content. Thanks again, and see you on the next video.